It's just Elon Musk. Promare was gays blow up SpaceX. That's all it was. It's just Elon Musk. In Kill la Kill, it's Lady Elon Musk. Who's like obsessed with fashion. So maybe it's Grimes. Maybe it's Grimes in Kill la Kill. It's just Elon Musk.
The next Studio Trigger villain is going to be like X3587. Hashtag you know me.
Poor baby.
Oh.
That poor baby. I hope he grows up normal.
He's not.
I know, but I can pray. Oh, what a shame.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm looking for a sad social worker father to marry.
And this week, we celebrate our one-year podcastaversary by revisiting Studio Trigger's 2020 anime, Brand New Animal. Before we tear God in half for our respective adopted teenage daughters, remember you can help us on Mortified, the Legitimacy Quest, by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. Leyla, congratulations. We've been doing this podcast for a year.
We have been mandating a conversation almost every week for a year.
This is episode 47, I believe, which doesn't count the two episodes we did not release. So that's pretty good. We've missed basically 3 and we skipped 2. That's fairly consistent. That's not bad.
I mean, I don't even count the ones where we took off for like a legitimate holiday.
Yeah, like holidays and, political unrest. So, yeah.
We've been through fucking chaos together, and every week we come back and we talk about the dumbest shit we can think of, and I think that's very heroic of us.
I think we do deserve a medal. I was listening to last week I was listening to our first episode in preparation for this, and I was like, oh my god. I said on air, like, realistically, 'cause I'm going to be a real serious health man, I think this COVID thing's probably going to be like 4 months long. My poor sweet
innocent Aaron. I can't even tell you how long I thought it was going to be. I think though, once I started hearing like people panic estimating a year, I kind of believed it. Not in a panic way, but I was like, no, with this administration and the way things are going, a year actually sounds kind of right, huh? And I mentally steeled myself. Not that it helped. I go through cycles of becoming unhinged, but our friendship is stronger. My calves are certainly stronger. You are married now. That's a thing that happened in quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the good things that happened in 2020. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
Initially I started this podcast with you because I feel like I don't speak very well. I feel like I stutter a lot. And I think that over the course of the past year, this regular conversational, mandate has really helped with that. So I do appreciate that. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than speech therapy. So appreciate that.
Yeah, this is also a lot cheaper than regular therapy.
It has also served something of a therapeutic function, as we're going to discuss later on in this episode.
Yeah,
definitely. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I feel like I say this, maybe not enough, but it's just nice to, have a friend who is very funny and smart and, get to talk to them once a week. It's just, a good, fun experience for me. I have few talents in this world, but, picking people is one of them, and it's just, it's been nice to speak to you every week and to also, bring you into, my wider friend circle and to meet some of your friends. It's been great. I feel like it feels less like a one-off internet friendship and more like a genuine friendship, a real, I make you suffer through Full Metal Alchemist friendship.
I mean, like, that's, if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that things that happen on the internet are just as real as the things that happen in the real world. And I think that's something we should be proud of, the fact that we've been able to consistently show up for each other, even if it's only, once a week for an hour. We also, do genuinely put a lot of work into this podcast. So, like, it's a testament to the fact that it's nice to have people, even if you've never met them in your lives. So thank you for your friendship, Leyla. And, I look forward to however many more episodes we've got in us.
Oh, for real. And as you say, work we put into this podcast, I remember that I prepared the newsletter a week ago and never hit send. So remind me to do that after we record.
Sounds good.
Sign up for our newsletter.
Yes,
go to our link tree. It's funny. It's good. It's short. Anyway, Aaron, we watched Brand New Animal, or BNA, which is a play on DNA, which is just fun. Do you care to summarize this 12-episode series for us?
Yeah, it's basically Animorphs meets Beastars. Basically, there is, I think it's just this island off the coast of Japan called Anima City. And everyone who lives there is a beastman. That's the terminology the movies or the series uses. And it means that there are humanoid people. They look like humans, but they can transform into animals. And they come from all sorts of animals. The main weird one is that there's a man who is a shark, but also he just walks around and doesn't live in the water, which is cool of him. But everybody's an animal. And it follows the story of Michiru, who is a human who got what the show calls beastman-itis, which means that she transformed from a human into a beastman. And she doesn't know how, but suddenly that's just what happened. And she has to flee to Anima City because beastmen are persecuted by humans. Humans, there's a whole anti-beastman faction that just hates beastmen and wants to kill them. So Michiru flees to Anima City and just starts to become integrated into the society. She meets Shiro, the weird cop detective who is kind of the unofficial guardian of the Beastmen. The mayor, she becomes a championship level baseball player at one point. And she also has to grapple with the fact that her basically girlfriend is also got beastman-itis and is dealing with that in her own way. And the series follows the struggles of that. It's pretty quick. Each episode's about 20-25 minutes, and there's only 12 episodes, so it's a real quick watch. But yeah, it's a fun show. I mean, if you've listened to Studio or watched anything by Studio Trigger, you'd understand. The animation's incredible. It's very fun. There's a lot of big bombastic sequences. It really was a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, follow-up question. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it, definitely. It was colorful. The characters were really good. We'll talk about Shiro, obviously, but he was really nice. Michiru is, my favorite kind of, plucky but kind of dumb anime antagonist. And then, a bunch of weirder characters, like the thief mink, the shark gangster, who's just a mobster. The team of baseball players who are just the Bears, because they're all bears, and that could be a joke about the Chicago Cubs being a bad baseball team, but they also get completely murdered by a bunch of evil flamingos. There's a lot of weird, just fun character work being done in this series, so I did enjoy it. That being said, we'll talk about some of the very obvious hangups that I have with it in a second.
Yeah. Some choices were definitely made. I won't disagree. But yeah, okay, so let's do our usual kind of run through the characters. Michiru, obviously, a fucking angel, plucky anime protagonist. Do you have anything to add on Michiru there?
I don't know, she's great. She is a tanuki, which is basically a raccoon, but I guess in Japan, there's it's a different kind of species than what we in the States would know as a raccoon, but for American listeners, she's a raccoon, but also she can transform parts of her body into different animals, which is wild. It's a power she gets later on. Don't worry about it. Michiru is great. I love her.
She's great. I love when she learns how to fly, because it's literally everything she does is just through tenacity and willpower. She needs to stretch her arms. She just keeps talking about stretching her arms, and she turns into Elasta Michiru. And then, she wants to fly because she has to rescue her sad wolf dad, and guess what? Wings sprout from her flappy little arms while she's falling to her death. And for that, we love her. I love that her and Shiro are like unstoppable force meets immovable object. Like, they're both such polar extremes of like, humans are awful, and then like, everyone's great, and they have to kind of battle it out all the time, but they change each other for the better. I think it's nice. It's a nice father-daughter story, and there were moments where I was like, Studio Trigger, are you trying to... What's going on? What's the relationship here? He's her dad. Don't Sesshomaru me here. Don't Yashahime me. Don't do that to me. And they didn't. She's a tiny lesbian, and that's her sad dog dad, and that's the way I like it. Thank you very much.
Yes. Much to my eternal shame, I was unable to pick out the correct character that Leyla loved in this series. I thought it was going to be one of the Birdmen, just based on Layla's types, but I should have known that before even the Birdmen comes a sad dad. And Shiro meets that in all aspects. We are going to be talking spoilers here. But Shiro is not only just the protector of Anima City, but he's also like the ancestor of 1,000-year-old genocide, and is like the Silver Wolf, which is like something of a deity among the Beastmen. He's like a super wolf. If you've played one of the latest Pokemon games, he's like one of those legendary wolves. He's really cool.
If Suicune was like a goth social worker.
Essentially. But like, one thing that I love about Shiro is that like he has the very grumpy like I don't understand why you are this way, like can't you just like be quiet sort of archetype, a tsundere of some sorts. But like, he also, the first introduction we get to him is that there's this big party in Anima City where all the Beastmen are like transformed into animals, and Michiru is going around and she's so excited to see everybody, and then she bumps into Shiro, and tears are streaming down his face, and then like you don't find out why until like episode 10, but it's like, oh, he's so happy because all of the Beastmen are having such a good time, and I was like, oh, Shiro, you big softie, I love you, you big dumb goth dad.
He is. He's a big, dumb goth dad, and I really like it when he throws fists for his daughter. It's just like a great moment in time for me. Like, yeah, just go ahead and tear literal God in half for your child.
Yeah, we'll get to tearing God in half. The mayor is the person that Shiro technically works for. She was the first Beastman to earn a doctorate, and is also, it's revealed later, the subject of Nazi experimentation, which I was not prepared for.
a lot of anti-Nazi messaging recently, and a lot of films and TV coming out of Japan. I wonder what that's about.
I wonder what that could be for America. Anyway, yeah, the mayor is a pretty good character, although I do feel like she is a little bit naive. When like she gets tricked by the Japanese prime minister about like, and also Alan about their true intentions when like, there's a big evil pharmaceutical company right in the middle of your city. It's like, come on, mayor, that's the bad guys, right? You gotta know.
It's a blonde, bespoke suited man who's surrounded by hexagons in a Studio Trigger production, ma'am. That's your villain.
Oh, I can't. Well, we have to hold off on the hexagon Tencock. There's Nazuna, who is like Michiru's essentially girlfriend. It's not technically canon, but like there's a lot of like romantic actions that they do.
It's that Studio Trigger like plausible deniability canon. It's that like. They're not like, we didn't say they were gay, but like, wink, it's very winky.
The thing that triggers Nazuna's Beastman transformation originally is when Michiru is like grabbing her hands. Like that was the first thing that sparked that spike of emotion that turned her into a Beastman. So like, they're not they're not saying it, but they're saying it. But Nazuna's whole thing is that she wants to be like a pop star. An idol is the word that they use. And I don't. Can you explain this "I'm an idol" forwards and back thing?
Oh yeah. So her name is oh my god, what is it called? When the anagram, is it? When the
I think so. Yeah.
word is the same thing. So in Japanese the characters are syllables. So it's na, zu, na, and it's the same backwards also. It's just cute. So her whole thing is like, I'm Nazuna. I'm an idol forwards and back. And she just like a pose. It's really cute. I really like her. I think she's fun.
She is fun. She does eventually become. She pretends to be the Silver Wolf because she can do some like a super transformation too because she also has Beastmanitis, which lets you do that. And like she becomes this religious figure that is like technically the head of the Church of the Silver Wolf.
She has a dalliance with being a cult leader, I think is.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But whom among us, right?
Yeah, you're right. They have uniforms. It's fun.
It's great. I do like the fact that this is now the second media property you've introduced me to in which a religious figure turns into a pop idol. The first being Final Fantasy X2.
Oh my god, did you not know Yuna becomes a pop idol in Final Fantasy X2?
Not until you told me about it a couple of years ago, and I was like, huh. It's fucked up.
Oh, listeners. Yeah, Final Fantasy X, Yuna's like a priestess, and then X2 it like opens with a bop she's performing called Real Emotion. I just re-downloaded the remaster. I'm very excited to get into that. But yeah, no, any media where like your protagonist is unironically a pop idol is just art to me. So
it's incredible.
I love this. It is. The concert's good. The song she sings is fun. The concert mix of that little song they sing together, their little theme, is incredible, powerful, moving.
It's great. We love lesbians doing a power ballad together. Then we get our evil guy. His name is Chairman Allen, and then his last name is the pharmaceutical company's last name which is
Sylvasta.
Sylvasta, yes. Alan Sylvasta is the chairman of this evil pharmaceutical company, and he is, in some ways, like, very obviously telegraphed to be the bad guy. It turns out that he is actually like he is what they call a quote-unquote pure blood beast man, which is a lie. It just means that he's like a really cool beast man. But like I didn't really understand it because it was in the very last episode, but he's a golden three-headed wolf, which is, I mean, he's cool, but like his whole thing is like trying to figure out how to cure Beastman-itis, or like cure, like just make Beastmen humans, and like it's very much like last season of Kipo, like trying to turn them back. That's his whole thing. He's like kind of a weird racist, and like the 1,000-year-old enemy of Shiro. It's interesting. I don't think he's like an especially novel villain, but I don't think that matters necessarily. He's cool, he's flashy, and you can hate him, and that's. I think Leyla, you described Studio Trigger's villain archetypes best.
It's Elon Musk. It's just Elon Musk. Promare was gays blow up SpaceX. That's all it was. It's just Elon Musk. In Kill la Kill, it's Lady Elon Musk. Like who's like obsessed with fashion. So maybe it's Grimes. Maybe it's Grimes in Kill la Kill. It's just Elon Musk.
The next Studio Trigger villain is going to be like X3587. Hashtag you know me.
Poor baby.
Oh.
That poor baby. I hope he grows up normal.
He's not.
I know, but I can pray. Oh, well, what a shame.
Hey, A12 or whatever your name is.
Ash, I think for short.
Ash, hey Ash, we're pulling for you, bud. Hang in there.
We are pulling for you, baby. Just
get Twitter as soon as you can and start
Twitter and therapy.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's just Elon Musk. It's a megalomaniacal tech entrepreneur with too much money who thinks that he and only he is the solution with his power and his money. That's it. That's it. It's just Elon Musk.
Yeah, and to be fair, the last couple Studio Trigger things, like when did Kill la Kill come out? Like what,
2013. I was close.
2013? Okay, like I guess maybe not Kill la Kill, but certainly BNA and this one. I
You
mean,
mean
this is BNA.
Promare?
Promare and BNA, right? Are certainly responding to that like era of Elon Musk's and Jeff Bezos's like rich people trying to go to space because they're terrible. So I do appreciate Studio Trigger's willingness to kind of criticize the rich people in our society, which is nice, I guess. Um, there are some other pretty good characters. There's a very cool mink thief lady. We mentioned the shark gangster. There's a Birdman who is also like an anarchist, who is fun and teaches Michiru how to fly. But probably the most important side characters are this Bears baseball team, namely their leader, whose name is Jackie.
Jackie is small and the dumbest creature alive. And she almost got burned at the fucking stake at one point for owing a scalper money on a water filter. And she was just gonna accept it. And I think my favorite part was the introduction of this whole baseball arc. The baseball episode in general was just really good. But the introduction of the baseball arc is funny because they're so stupid and they get their ass kicked by these flamingos. And, people die in these baseball games. One of their team members got outright murdered. And when Michiru was like, okay, we're gonna win, but you can't kill anyone. They were like, what? Why? And she's like, you can't. It's baseball. You're not supposed to murder anybody in baseball. Like, can we meme them? No. Can we seriously injure them? No. Give them a wedgie? No! No, we're not hurting anybody. And then they just continue to be the dumbest creatures alive. And it is so fucking funny. When we catch up with Jackie after the cult of the Silver Wolf, or the Church of the Silver Wolf wasn't there, a cult. Jackie is eating bread, but she's never seen the center of bread anymore. And she's like, look, it's a crust, but it's got white part in it. I didn't know about the white part.
Richard walks by and she's like, Jackie, what are you doing here? And Jackie's like, eating crust. And she's like, you don't know about bread, homie? It's like, this is the best crust I've ever had. It's so good.
Jackie is truly excellent. I love her so much. But yeah, I mean, much like any Studio Trigger property, even the silly characters have, a serious part to play in the end, because, Jackie, legitimately saves lives in the end.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's great. I love them.
Okay, I think we've reached the part where you can talk about Studio Trigger's, the hexagon motifs.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay, so just really quick, I just think it's funny, Sophie, okay, so I love anime, I give me any opportunity to talk about just how visually clever anime is and building its own visual language. But it's in the Western animation is so monopolized right now that it's hard to do anything truly innovative, to the level of Into the Spider-Verse in feature. Our TV animation's pretty good, but it's hard to find a style that is as distinctive as certain anime studios, and Trigger and Ghibli are kind of the big two that you can really recognize visually. 4C also. But so if you watch any Studio Trigger property, it just goes this is how they paint it, right? It's really easy. Good characters are black and red. Bad characters are yellow and white. And everything is a complementary color. So Kill la Kill did just really blatant red and blue. Promare and BNA are cyan and magenta. So there's a little bit of an evolution in the complement there. And then KLK and Little Witch Academia, the cubes are evil. And then it evolved into hexagons for Promare and BNA. So it's just this very distinctive visual lexicon where I feel their stories are so exaggerated and so fairy tale-like that you don't really need subtlety. They really rely on extremes. And it's just funny because, when you meet Alan, you know he's the villain if you've seen any other Studio Trigger property. Not to mention that at one point he walks by, a Beast Man lemonade stand, and the guy's like, this isn't for humans. And Alan's like, I'll still drink it. And then he drinks it, and it's basically nothing happens to him, even though it's formulated for beastmen. And he's like, this tastes like shit. He's like, you must be right. It's not made for humans. And it's like, no, you're just a beast man. Like, this isn't even foreshadowing. It's just bludgeoning you over the head with the plot. But like, that's fine because it's only 12 episodes. Just like Promare was just a movie, and because Trigger doesn't like these like long drawn out things, it's just exposition dumps. So like, you need to get hit over the head with it a little bit. I don't know. I just think it's fun. I think it's neat.
It is neat. And you know what? I do appreciate an exposition dump from, not even from time to time. I just like it when it's like, hey, here's how the world works. Don't try to learn it over a long period of time. Just like, hey, these are the rules. This is the experience you're going to be having. Just strap in. It'll be fun. Trust us. And you know what? They do it. They do a couple exposition dumps over the course of this film, or franchise, series, whatever.
Series, yeah.
Pictures move, also sound. Anyway, yeah, it was good, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, it makes me really happy. I mean, I feel like I've made my stance on franchise homework really clear on this podcast, which is to say that if I'm playing your game and I need to read a book to understand a quest, you're not doing it. You're doing a bad job telling your story. I shouldn't have to do homework unless I want extra information. All your core information should be in the thing I am immediately consuming. Which is why I love Studio Trigger, because they'll just stop everything for like 6 minutes and be like, so, here's the history of Solvasta Pharmaceuticals. Thanks! Now I know! I'm pro exposition dump.
No, I think we should all aspire to have more exposition dumps in our media.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who talks basically in exposition dumps.
It's just the most efficient way to get your point across. It's just like, hey, you don't know this thing, I'm going to tell you this thing. That's just good communication.
Yeah. That's how we're going to justify it.
I'm going to yell that at whatever editor tells me that I can't do that shit in the future.
Oh, fuck yeah. Do that. And I mean, like, okay, so basically the whole Michiru Nazuna thing also was delivered in exposition dumps, but in flashbacks, mostly from Michiru's point of view. And like you mentioned, their romance isn't like canon. Like, it's not said, but it's very heavily winked at. And like, honestly, I don't particularly mind that in this specific instance, just because they're kids. So like, I don't really, I'm not really out here looking for kids to make out. And it's that like Studio Trigger kid, like, or plausible deniability that I talked about earlier, where like they do that. They did it in Kill la Kill, where it ended in lesbians. I haven't finished Little Witch Academia yet, but like Promare's, like, the songs are love songs in the whole soundtrack. Like, I don't know what to tell you if you don't think they're at least a little gay. Like, but they put in like a plausible deniability heterosexuality scene. Now, like, in the long term, I'm hoping they'll be able to be a little bit less wink wink and a little bit more nudge nudge about it. You know what I mean? But it's fine. I got the point. There was a lot of them holding hands and singing together. I'm like, they're lesbians, Harold.
People are lesbians. These people specifically.
These two little girls specifically.
And we're proud of them. But
infinitely.
Okay. We said a lot of nice things. We should probably talk about the main thing that bummed me out about BNA, which is that they run into the Zootopia problem, which, if you've heard anything about Zootopia, you know that it is a Pixar, or is Zootopia Pixar or Disney? I don't know. It's just Disney. Yeah, okay. It's a Disney movie that talks about there's a society of animals, and it tries to show you how racism is bad by separating them into predators and prey. And the prey are, herbivores, and the predators are carnivores. And, it tries to show how, like, people are treated differently because of the way that they are. But the problem is that when you make that a biological, like, actual thing, like in the real world, like where, foxes do eat rabbits IRL, and like, lions do have big teeth and claws, it becomes the metaphor is a little bit different, right? Brand New Animals has the same problem where so the big bad ending thing is that Alan is trying to trigger what he calls, it's not Niflheim.
Nervusel.
nervousil syndrome, which is this reaction when apparently when lots of beastmen congregate together, they have an emotional reaction and they get quote unquote out of control. They go berserk and they become big hulked out monsters, which is wild. It's pretty fucking crazy. The first time it happens to this big rhino who becomes basically a robot. And the only way that, they can bring it down is by Shiro going full god mode. And, also Shiro gets impaled at one point, and there's so much blood, and I was like, oh, wow! It's, this is a different movie, huh? This series really took a turn. But the introduction of nervousil syndrome bummed me out, because it's like, okay, there is an inherently problematic element of having all the beastmen together, which is that they will biologically have this reaction and become dangerous. And Shiro's whole backstory is like, oh, I thought all the humans killed all of my clan back in the day, but Alan tells him, no, actually it was nervousil syndrome that triggered them all killing each other, which sucks in my opinion.
Yeah, if I remember, I should have paid more attention to this exposition dump. I was cleaning and packing my living room while we were watching this. But if I remember correctly, Alan triggered it Alan's ancestor triggered it on purpose.
Yeah.
I think he was leading an army of humans.
Yeah.
The Sylvestris are basically like if Loki was committed to being evil. They're very chaotic and odd and kind of flashy and showy. But no, it's bad. It's not a great. It bothered me too, right? So it's kind of a continuation of the conversation we were having last week when we were talking about taking scoundrel characters to their logical extreme. In a universe where everything else is taken to its logical extreme, it is weird to try to do an allegory about something so nuanced and not really spend the time either polishing it to be a metaphor about race, which if you're gonna do that, honestly, you should go full Beastars and not even have humans. Or distancing it from that and just making it kind of its own thing. But because the story was so kind of non-committal about it being a metaphor or not, it runs into the Zootopia problem in a really big way.
Yeah, and I mean they did do some retconning, or not retconning, but they fixed one of the big red flags for me, which is Alan was explaining oh, well, only mixed blood beastmen can get nervousil syndrome, but since I'm a pureblood, I can't get it. And I was like, are you you're gonna make that canon, huh? That's a choice. That's interesting. All the mixed race people are, inherently violent and out of control. And thankfully, in the final episode, it's revealed that Alan, even though he's a quote unquote pureblood, can still get nervousil syndrome. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's not so bad, I guess. I mean, I still don't love it, but the fact that they're playing with these stereotypes and these tropes, it does kind of raise the hair on my arms. I don't love it, but I'm willing to forgive it because obviously I don't think it was malicious. I think it was just an oversight that it should be criticized, but doesn't overall tarnish it completely. There are some things that I do wish they would have dug into deeper, specifically Michiru's struggle with her identity as a beast man, right? Because she goes through the series trying to figure out what does it mean to be both a human and a beast man, and at first she's like, oh, I'm just gonna cure this beast manitis. I don't want to be a beast man. And then later on when she realizes that she likes being in Anima City and likes all the people she met, she's like, yeah, no, I prefer to stay in this beast form. And there's something interesting there, right? It has to do with, you and I are both members of a diaspora group, which, there is a lot of struggle with identity and finding out where you fit in and code switching. And I do wish they had played with that more.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's emblematic of Studio Trigger. Also, they they graze over a lot of shit. It's Promare does it, Kill la Kill does it. They focus a lot on like short form, punchy, kind of like extreme stories, and they don't necessarily do a lot of digging in. It's like exposition dump, but like not a lot of. They're not very exploratory in their work, which I think is fine, but you do have to be careful about like where that lack of exploration happens. I think again, I think I wrote about it. I don't think we talked about it, but in one of my essays I talked about like purposeful vagueness, where like if you want a fleshed out world, sometimes picking a specific area to say less in encourages audience participation, which is something I think Studio Trigger kind of like is really good at in some instances, where like their work is just similar enough to the real world, but they leave just enough blank for you to kind of fill in the gaps yourself. And it gives their really extreme kind of like cartoonish worlds a little bit more grit and realism, because it's similar enough, but there's room to project. But sometimes the wrong things or not the wrong things, but things are left blank that maybe could have been filled in just like a little bit more, just to avoid some of this stickiness, But that being said, I think it is worth saying with a lot of anime, and this isn't like, sometimes racists will like use this as an excuse to justify there being like no black people in anime or whatever, or like use this as an excuse to like harass black cosplayers for cosplaying anime characters. But we do have to remember that like it is not a point of view we're familiar with. You know what I mean? Like the way Japanese people, like native Japanese people, would talk about multiculturalism and racism might differ from the American point of view. Not to say one is inherently better or worse. It's just something when we talk about criticism, especially in anime, we have to be kind of aware of that. We're not having the same conversation. There's always some sort of like translation error, and it doesn't. Again, it's not an excuse. Like Full Metal Alchemist does some. I remember there's like a black, I think, officer in Brotherhood that is not drawn great, kind of drawn in a like a minstrel stereotype way. So we have to be aware of that kind of going in. And I think some of this is like just a worldview disparity, but that isn't necessarily good or bad. But again, it's worth criticizing, because when you open your thing up to a global audience, you open it up to a global conversation. So that's just my caveat there.
Yeah, like obviously there is a history in Japan versus the United States. There are different histories of the ways that minority groups have been oppressed and subjugated by the state, which don't necessarily align one-on-one. It is what you were saying. Like it is different, but regardless, it is still worth pointing out. But the fact that they got so close to something that I really thought was profound was nice. Like there's a point, right, where Shiro's doing his god howl. Like he is in his silver wolf form and he's howling, and like that howl is what stops all the people who have been triggered by Nervicil syndrome to revert to their norm, or not revert, but like they stop fighting. And it works for all of the beastmen in Anima City except for Michiru and Nazuna, because they're not technically beastmen. And like that feeling of both being excluded from something that is a part of your community, but also, recognizing that you are not technically a part of this group that you've integrated into, like that, it's just like classic diaspora shit. And, I think that, I would love to see like a whole 6 to 12 episode series about that specific thing. Listen, we're recording this on Easter Sunday. I've been having weird feelings about my own relationship with my parents and Catholicism, and the ways that the cultural background that I have is tied up into that. Maybe I'm just feeling nostalgic this weekend, but I thought it was interesting.
It is a strange thing. And my family has, here's me hoping they never listen to this podcast, huh? My family used to do Orthodox Easter, because we come from an Armenian Orthodox background. And I remember growing up, I just kind of had to figure out that there were 2 Easters, and people just, people at school would do Easter, and then 2 weeks later we would do Easter at home. My little brother, though, didn't like that idea, so now we do regular Easter. And it is regular Easter, meaning like Catholic, same time as the Catholics, and the other non-Orthodox denominations. I don't know any of them. You know, USSR imposed atheism. I'm lacking in my religious background.
You get a pass about Christianity knowledge. If you want real Christianity knowledge, come over to The Bible Boys. We got a lot of talks about vegetables that love God in that one, but
yeah, my knowledge of Christianity is wild. It's incredibly mixed and comes from I thought I was Jewish for a year. We're not even going to talk about it, but yeah, so it's that, I feel like I've always grown up with the feeling of not being part of the howl, and I think using a howl specifically as this gesture is really powerful, because it is for wolves in nature, it's like a communal act. You start a howl, other wolves join in, and just being able to watch what I would consider in this universe a sacred act, but not being able to do anything but stand in reverence is really a diaspora feeling. And it's funny how that little moment in a goof-ass show like this will get you,
Yeah, that is the experience, huh?
Yeah, sometimes you'll be doing a goof-ass thing and then you'll get all in your feelings about it.
One minute it's all Winnie the Pooh's being stabbed to death by flamingos, and then it's unpacking your cultural background in the last 3 minutes of an anime.
Yeah, oh man. But it is a good last 3 minutes. I mean, I joked earlier, or I think I slipped it in the intro, about tearing God in half for your kid daughter. But that's what almost happened. Is this show, the way it does it is flawed, at least. But there is this conversation about nature versus nurture, right? That they're hinting at a little bit, and multiple times in this series, Michiru stops Shiro from doing a murder. She stops him from doing a murder in the beginning, and then she stops him from doing a murder in the end when he's literally about to tear God in half, and then is my daughter is looking at me and I don't want to be a bad example, so I guess I'm just going to
nerf God.
Yeah, I guess I'll just nerf him, not kill him, huh? That would I don't think she'd like that if I did that. I don't think she would look at me the same. Brought to you by the man who got a whiff of her maybe getting cured and was so are you gonna go home? Are you gonna leave? And she was no, and he's oh, thank God. Not I care, but thank God. He's very, very,
Listen,
like you said, tsundere dad.
I wouldn't care any other way, but also
I'm glad you're saying.
Please never leave. I love you so much, my sweet baby.
My sweet adopted daughter. But yeah, I think that these themes of found family and talking about nature versus nurture, and in the last 2 properties, they've taken great care not to kill the villain, and it's good stuff. There's good stuff and sometimes the delivery method is unrefined, I think, is the kind way I'd like to put it. Mm-hmm. But it's a good show. It's a good 12 episodes. You can get through it in an afternoon. Watch some dad adopting a tanuki with god powers.
It's great. It's good. You should watch it. It's fun. You
should watch it. It's a good fucking time. But yeah, no, it's. I agree with you. I think that it's irksome. Some things are irksome. I think I'd say.
There's no such thing as a perfect show.
If only there were such a thing. Well, there is. It's called Haikyuu, and
yeah.
That's it.
And we'll be watching the live-action version of that next week.
Oh, yeah. We're really retracing our steps. It's been a while since we did the Naruto stage spectacular, and now we're doing the Haikyuu one.
There we go.
So,
it's just
great.
Everything old is new again.
All right. Well, Aaron, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL. You can listen to the other podcasts I do at The Bible Boys. We just recorded an episode about Heaven is for Real, about a little 4-year-old who apparently went to heaven and told his dad all the cool things he saw there. And it wasn't... We came out with some surprisingly nuanced takes, which I was very proud of us of, and that'll go up on Saturday, so watch out for that. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at LEYLSCS on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram. Currently not really posting much other than getting really excited about evil hexagons on Twitter because I am moving. So just follow at your own risk. Our
theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. Find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how do we close out our 1-year spectacular?
I don't know. Hey, Aaron, what are you doing here?
Eating crust. We'll see you all next week.